composers of the Baroque period. First, we have Johann Sebastian Bach, who marked the high point of Baroque music. So he came from a long line of musicians and passed on this music heritage. And four of his sons were also composers. So what's interesting about Bach's personal life is that he married twice, and because his first wife died, his second wife was actually his second cousin, and he had, I think, 13 kids his with his second cousin. So that's really a lot. So he wasn't really all only prominent in his music works, but also in his children. So he was born in Eisenach, Germany, and his main instrument was the organ. He was also a concert master and a composer. So I will also attach a link here that's called Yesu Joy of Man's Desiring, which I think some of you are familiar with because it's usually played in weddings when the ninongs and ninangs march. It's usually what the string quartet plays or the keyboard plays. So that's Yesu Joy of Man's Desiring. So also, Bach made famous a type of musical work called the fugue. So a fugue is a polyphonic composition based on one main theme called a subject, and throughout the fugue, there are different melodic lines or voices that imitate the subject. So this piece that I will let you hear, the organ fugue in G minor, you will hear first the melody, there's just one, and then when it continues, right, that main melody or the subject is again played. So it's like overlapping each other. It's kind of complicated, but somehow it complements each other. The melodies complement each other. Then the next person we have is George Friedrich Handel, who was a master of Italian operas and oratorios. So operas and oratorios are very much different, and I will differentiate them later. So he was born 1 month before Bach in Germany also, and he started his music at a young age. So at 21, one of his operas was successfully produced, and this was called The Messiah. So for sure, you're all familiar with Alleluia Chorus, so I will also attach this. So an oratorio, unlike the opera, it is sacred based. So most of the stories, they base the oratorio is through Bible stories. That's why you can hear or see oratorios during Holy Week or Christmases, because it's based on the Bible. But it's the same. It is large scale. It is there's a chorus, there are vocal soloists and orchestra, but there's no acting, scenery, or costume. So there are similarities, but there are differences as well. So Messiah is the oratorio George Friedrich Handel composed, and this is really famous. And if you see the video and if you pretty much notice the audience in the video, when the introduction starts, the audience starts to rise. Okay, so the history behind that is when it was the first time that Handel played the Alleluia chorus, the king that time was so amazed by the music, he stood up. And it was protocol before that when the king stands up, everyone else will follow. So that's basic knowledge actually anywhere in the world. If they hear the Alleluia chorus, they stand up. Then the next composer is Antonio Vivaldi. So he was prepared to be a priest, but because he was very sickly, he didn't pursue. being a priest. And because he had red hair, he was famous as the Red Priest. So that's him. What he's wearing, like the wig, is not his real hair because it's white. Um, then he made famous the Concerto Grosso, which means getting together. Okay, so it consists of contrast of two group of instrumental ensemble. You have a small ensemble and a bigger ensemble or an orchestra. So they are like answering each other, playing different melodies, and somehow play together also at the same time. So the example of this I will give is the first movement of Spring from his work called The Four Seasons.